Your thoughts on the last 48 hours, if you please?
Well, firstly, very good morning and good to join you. I think what we've finally seen over the past 48 hours are Conservative MPs finding some sort of conscience, at least some of them have done, but they've actually enabled Boris Johnson, they've propped up Boris Johnson. Even now, they are allowing Boris Johnson to remain in office. And at a time of a cost of living crisis, we're going to have this zombie government. We don't know how long we're going to have that zombie government, probably until Monday when a timetable is going to be set out. But frankly, the country cannot wait for this. What we should actually be having is a fresh start, a change of government after this 12 years of Conservative failure.
And look, there may be people watching who say, yeah, you've got a fair point, but you're playing politics with this, aren't you? In the sense that as Michael Brown was just telling us, there's very likely to be a new Prime Minister in place by the first week of September, the last week of August, perhaps. If as they did, as you're suggesting, which is call a general election, it's going to take longer than that for it all to happen.
No, it wouldn't take longer than that. And we don't even know at the moment that is the timetable for the succession. And we are literally left now with a government, with a Prime Minister who's unfit for office, but it seems the Conservatives are willing to leave him there. And secondly, we are now going to have what looks like a possibly long, drawn-out contest. What this shows, by the way, is that changing the person at the top is not going to change the fundamental issue for the Conservative Party, which is this 12 years of failure. And there's no point it's somehow trying to distance themselves from Boris Johnson. They made Boris Johnson possible. They've made the last months of trashing of standards in public life, the lying and the chaos all possible. And whoever is at the top of the Conservative Party is not going to change that.
Nevertheless, in the last general election, the Tories won with a very large majority, which I accept has dwindled slightly, but still a large majority. There's a functioning government there. Why the heck would they want to call a general election? They're simply not going to. They can keep going with what they want. Quite soon will be a new leader.
Well, we live in a parliamentary democracy. That is absolutely true. But is it in the interests of the country to have this zombie government? As you rightly point out, they won a majority of 80, but they've still managed to get themselves through their own chaos into a situation where they've got a non-functioning government. Why on earth should people trust them ever to run government competently again after this? That is why we need that fresh start, that mandate from the public for a new government to tackle the cost of living crisis before us.
No one's going to buy into that, especially, I mean, forgive me for being absolutely direct, but when you use phrases like zombie government, which I presume is something an advisor has said this would be a good message to get across, and you're probably using in all your interviews this morning, people don't buy into that. People aren't going to be fooled into thinking it's a zombie government. This is what happens when there's a change of leader in these circumstances. As we've seen, the current leader stays in place until someone new is brought in. It's going to happen in about 6 weeks during recess. So, I mean, you're just spinning a line to the country there, aren't you?
No, I'm a political historian, amongst other things, Stephen. And I think the phrase and the word zombie government is pretty well known as a phrase when you have a government that isn't going to be functioning properly. And we've also heard in the media that the Prime Minister himself has actually supposed to have said to the Cabinet that there won't be any major policy initiatives. So don't just take my word for it. That is the position that Boris Johnson has again, together with Conservative MPs, chosen. That's the position they've chosen to put the country in. And the situation is, you can't have a situation where on the one hand you have the Conservative Party saying you have someone who's completely unfit for office, and then leaving him there any day, let alone weeks, that he remains in office is too long.
But as Stephen said earlier, even if you got what you wanted now, which was the calling of a general election, the country would still be with that same government, that same Prime Minister in situ until the result of a general election. And it would be no sooner, and it would take far longer than just waiting for the Tories to have their election, to put in place another leader and let them get on with the job.
Well, who knows? They might actually get rid of Boris Johnson, do what they should be doing more quickly in that scenario. But in any event, what you get with a general election is a government with a new mandate and a government with momentum to actually act. I speak to people on a regular basis about the pressures in cost of living that they are facing. They can't just wait around. If some media reports are to be believed today, it is because the Prime Minister wants to have some sort of wedding party at Chequers. I mean, can you honestly believe that that is the case after the behaviour of recent months? And it seems once again the Prime Minister putting his own interests above those of the country.